Today's test is Ayin Kislev, Hatashin Ayin. This is Shir Klali, Parshas Vayishlach.
There's a few people say. Good few. Right, so we're turning this week's Parsha to chapter Lamed Beis, and it's Pasik Kof Hey, aber Be'ikr we're going to pay attention to Pasik Lamed Aleph. So chapter Lamed Beis, Pasik Kof Hey, and Be'ikr leading through to Pasik Lamed Aleph. If you do that again, hello? If you do that again, then I'll oust you from the class altogether, okay? I mean, you know very well it starts. All right. So the pasuk says, "Vayivoseir Yaakov levadei," that Yaakov Avinu remained all on his own. Now this was after he prepared the mincha for Esau, and he'd sent the whole mincha ahead of him, and then he went over the river, which is called the Ma'ava Yabik, and he took his whole family over, and then he went back to get something. And Rashi says that he went back for pachim ktanim, for small vessels. So that's a big discussion all on its own right. What were those vessels, and what was he going back after small vessels? But we won't go into that now. And he remained on his own on the other side of the Ma'ava Yabik, completely on his own. So, having remained on his own, all of a sudden, Vayeyavek ish imoy. All of a sudden there appeared a man, and he literally wrestled with him. Ad alois hashocha. There was a struggle and a wrestle between Yaakov Avinu and this person who appeared, until the going up of the morning, the first appearance of the morning, which is the morning star, alois hashachar. Vayar ki lo yochel lo. The opponent of Yaakov Avinu saw that he can't overcome him. Vayiga b'kaf yerechoi, and so at least he affected the thigh portion, or the thigh area of Yaakov Avinu. V'ateka kaf yerech Yaakov yavkei imoy. And teka means it got moved or jumped out of its place, and it became displaced. And that's the union of what's called, you guys are learning here today, probably heard of it, that's called the Gid HaNosheh. This person said to Yaakov, "You must send me away, because the morning is coming up." And so then Yaakov Avinu said, "No, I'm not going to send you until you give me a blessing." And then Yaakov Avinu asked him what his name was, and a whole series of statements between them, and the pasuk sums up by saying that he told Yaakov that his name is going to be changed to Israel. And then it's written in Pasuk Lamed Aleph, Vayikro Yaakov Shem Amokim Peniel, or Peniel, that Yaakov called the name of the place where this had all occurred, or that name. Ki, why did he call it that name? Ro'isi Elokim Ponim El Ponim. I saw literally divinity face to face, but Tinotzeil Nafshi, and my soul was saved. And then Vayizrach Lo Hashemesh, the sun suddenly came out, Kasha Over as Pnuel. And we see the pasuk refers to the same place, with the same name that Yaakov Avinu gave it, but it changes from a Yud in the middle of the word to a Vav. Instead of being Pniel, it's Pnuel. And he was limping on the thigh or leg, which this Ish, or wherever he was, had touched him and affected him there. And then we see it on the basis of that, the famous statement of the Torah that we don't eat the Gid HaNosher because of this whole Inya. So we ask ourselves the question, who was this Ish and what happened between him and Yankov? So Rashi says, first of all, what was he doing with this person? Rashi brings a person called Menachem, but he was a big grammatist and a great scholar at that time, probably more or less contemporary with Rashi. Rashi says that he says, Vayisafar Ish, that this guy became dusty, he became full of dust by his contact with Yankov. And so he says that that's a lotion of ovak, and ovak means dust. In other words, that Yavek Ish means that they were in some way, they were throwing dust, or they were causing dust to fly. So this particular person, he became more dusty, as it were, than Yankov. He became full of dust. Or to use another expression, he bit the dust. In other words, he was cast down by Yankov. Well, that's what it appears in the Medrash Rabbah. And so Rashi says that it really meant that they wrestled physically together. And therefore, two people wrestle all the time, struggling to overcome physically and bodily one the other. Therefore, they cause dust to fly around their feet. And therefore, they caused also dust to rise up from. Also, Rashi takes it can mean like a knot, that you tie yourself up with the other person, and you literally hop him around, as they say, you embrace him with your arms. And so they were wrestling bodily, either the two Pirushim, either they were throwing dust, or they were clinging desperately one to the other like wrestlers do. So then all of a sudden Rashi adds, right at the end of the whole description of what was happening, Upirshu Razal Shuhu Saroi Shel Esau. As he says at the end, that this person, he was really the Sar of Esau. He was literally the minister of Esau. So I thought the Shiloh wasn't being a minister of Esau. What's Esau doing with ministers? Walking in on Yaakov Avinu and wrestling with him. So we have to understand that he means he was a spiritual minister. In other words, he was an angel. He was a malach. And he was the malach, Lamaila, who's especially in charge of Esau. I'm looking after Esau. Isn't he don't allow people to sit with their faces covered with their hands, okay? He was a malach representing the koyach of Esau. So it's interesting that Rashi sort of puts that in after he's explained the whole Inya. Well, that throws a doubt in our minds that how could you wrestle with an angel? I mean, the Kodesh asks, as a matter of fact, an angel is a very spiritual being. Even though according to the Ramban they have bodies, but they have very spiritual bodies compared to ours. So how come he could wrestle? How come he could wrestle with an angel? And therefore we have to say that the angel came down in the form of a body. And that's why he's called, and Rashi doesn't make any problem out of it at all, he's called at the beginning Ish, and then we later say that he's a Sarishel Esau. So Ish means a mensch, and Sarishel Esau means a malach. So he must have been a malach that came in some form of a bodily form. And l'chera, what is the obligation to say that? Because Rashi continues in that way the whole way through. And then later he even slightly hints to Esau when he meets up with him. He fought with an angel and he beat him and all arichas. We see that he touched him on his thigh. So if he touched him on his thigh, then he must have had some sort of a contact with Gashmias, and it must have been, or he was in such a spiritual form that he was able to take action nonetheless in Gashmias. All the implications indicate that something physical happened here. And the Rashi first of all describes the whole physicality of the matter, and then he says, by the way, you have to realize that this was an angel of Esau, meaning that he was an emerson, a spiritual being, a being that was from the Elam, a Ruchni, Lamaila, and he's a Malach. But he's a Malach that he represents Esau. Therefore, others say, and it says written in the Zohar Kodesh, they wasn't just stam. If you don't stop grinning, then you're going to be out. Okay? That means maybe out of the yeshiva also. So I don't know who you were grinning at, but you better stop. Damela asked herself the Shaila, what was the whole purpose of this war of a Malach coming down to Yaakov Avinu in the form of a bodily person, and with a whole struggle, and Yaakov Avinu got the upper hand over him to the point that when he wanted to leave, he couldn't get away. In other words, that he was mamish laying down, on the ground, as you might say, and that's what Rashi brought the first period, that he was down in the dust. He, as we say, he bit the dust, and Yaakov Avinu was holding him down, and he wasn't able to move without Yaakov Avinu's, as it were, permission, or without his allowing him to do so. And then Yaakov Avinu wouldn't let him go until he'd agreed about the brachas. What Rashi tells us, Barichas, that he got out of him an agreement to the fact that he'd taken the brachas and the birthright with the whole inyan. So it follows then that Yaakov was attacked physically by Sarish Esau, and they had a physical wrestle, they had a struggle. Coming along another great Meforshim, and they want to say, based on the Targum the Targum Onkelos, because the Targum Onkelos uses an expression, V'ishtadel Gavra Imei, that a person literally made effort with Yaakov Avinu. And the word Lishtadel doesn't necessarily mean physically. It doesn't mean you can say you're mishtadel with somebody, or you were mishadil somebody, means you persuaded him, or you spoke to him a long time and you brought him a certain view and you got him to share that view. Or that's lashon ishtadil. Now in the Targum of the Yonasan ben Uziel, he also says, he uses a strange word in Aramaic, but the Meforshim on the Targum, or they say that it also means persuasion, or trying to in some way enforce an opinion on Yaakov Avinu, and they fought the whole night in that way. So that would come out that it was more a spiritual milchama rather than a physical one. And so then it would say that the ovak is also a spiritual idea rather than a physical one. And later on we'll see that maybe there's some sort of inyan in ovak, which is a very powerful symbol when it gets to what actually took place here, the holidays, and according to everybody. So according to these people, and it says mashma also in the Ramban, that the Ramban also brings down the opinion that it was a spiritual war, and he seems to favor that opinion, even though he ends up with the idea that the word the Yalvek means one of them was literally down on the ground, and that was the Sarish Esau. But he tends to favor the idea that it was a spiritual discussion and a spiritual war between the two. So then we see that Yaakov Avinu, when he gets out of the whole thing, that he calls the name of the place Peniel, and he said the reason I called it that Roishi Elohim, or Elohim Ponim El Ponim. So Rashi, interestingly enough, Rashi doesn't comment about the whole piece. So we have to assume that Rashi bases himself on the fact that he said that this Ish was a Malach, and we've already been told on previous occasions that Malachim are connected with the word Elohim. And also Yaakov saw Malachim, they were called Malachei Elohim, and other such things in the past, that therefore Rashi understood, since I've already told you that he was a Malach, then sometimes the Malachim themselves are even called Elohim. Therefore, Rashi just assumes that you understand that Elohim means a Malach. And therefore Yaakov said that I saw a Malach ponim, I saw him face to face mamish, but tinotzel nafshi, and my soul was saved. So we have to say that the vav tinotzel nafshi, if we take that pirush, means and nonetheless my soul was saved. In other words, to see a Malach ponim is not an easy business, but nonetheless I was saved. You know, I could have passed away, or something very serious could have happened to me, but tinotzel nafshi, my soul was nonetheless saved. So that's good according to the both pirushim. Whether it was a physical war or a spiritual war, then his soul was saved from the threat of this angel of Esau, and that's the pshat peni el, that he saw an angel, he saw Elohim mamish. And then later he changed it from peni kel into penu kel. Well, that asks us the question: why would he change the yud into a vav? However, ask yourself the shaila, Yaakov Avinu, if we're going to say that he called the mocking peni kel purely because he'd seen a malach, and he'd even seen a malach upon him, I mean, that's not really a big kiddush by Yaakov Avinu. Because if we look back, Yaakov Avinu has seen quite a lot of malachim, even since he left Beersheba. When he left Beersheba, he saw the Sulam, and he saw all these angels on the Sulam. And then when he came out of when he was over there in Vayishlach, an angel came to him and told him a whole minute about the flocks, with the whole message. And then an angel even appeared to Lavan, our Rosh Lavan, our army. There was even an angel appeared to him. And then when Yaakov was coming back there to Israel, he sees a camp of angels. And he met up with a camp of angels. So Yaakov has seen a lot of angels before. And comes along there, a Chaim HaKadosh, and he asked exactly that question. He said, what's the beginning? By Yaakov, they would call this place a special name, that he saw angels. Yaakov was very rogil to see angels. It wasn't by him a chidush klal to have met up with angels. And the only thing is, it was written that he met him upon him. So therefore the Chaim answers a very fascinating teretz, and he says all the other places where Yaakov met angels, he met them in a good way. How you might say, he met them melachatchila. He met the angels on the Sulam. He saw that all that was happening benegeh to the Sulam, as it brought down all the Inyonim and the Zohar Kodesh and other places. When he came in there at Yisrael, then Rashi already told, he saw special malachim from Eretz Yisrael, malachim from Chutz La'aretz, that they came to accompany him or to meet him. But here says the Chaim HaKadosh that he fought with this malach, or this malach came in order to make war against him, to struggle with him, and therefore he brings a lashon in Nach, in Sefer Shmuel, that it's mashma that war can be called a facing ponim, like a challenge to see with whom is the emes of gevura and whom is the emes of victory. That can be called a meeting ponim el ponim. Because when two people walk together, particularly in an individual way, then they face one another ponim el ponim. So that was the Chaim HaKadosh. Yaakov was rogil in malachim. Over the Ika here was he fought the malach. It wasn't that he saw him. And therefore, if that's the case, then why didn't he say Yaakov Avinu? Yaakov Shem HaMokim Penikel Ki Lo Nilchamtim Im Elohim, that I mamish fought with an angel, and nonetheless my soul was rescued from the fight. But he says, Ki ro'isi, I saw Elohim upon him. Well, that tends to indicate that something very basic here is in the etzem fact that he saw this Indian which he calls Elohim. And he used the name Pani Kael. But if you take the word Kael, it's well known that Kael is Lashon meaning Chesed. Yeah, there's a pasuk in Tehillim, Chesed Kael Kola Ayoim. That the word Kael, Al Pi Kabbalah, and the Alter brings it in Torah. In Parsha Boy, the word Kael is the Kli for the Gilui of Sfiras HaChesed. In other words, the Sfiras HaChesed is Kael. Elohim is Lashon Gevura, as we know. Elohim is the Midas HaGevura. So he says that the Ro'ishi Elohim, upon him, yeah, and he calls the place Pani Kael, which is indicatory of the Hepech of Elohim, the Indian from Chesed. And then all of a sudden the pasuk changes into Panu Kael with a Vav. So it's hard to say that the whole emphasis is purely on the Milchama with the Malach, because it didn't mention the Milchama, just that I saw him, Ro'isi. So we need to understand that what was the nature of this whole Milchama, particularly if we learn it was a Milchama Ruchnias, then what was the nature of this whole Milchama, and what was the victory of Yaakov Avinu, and what is the Indian that he called the place Pani Kael, even though he saw Midas HaGevura, upon him, Amalach, that he's for sure Gevura, because Esau is for sure Gevura. Yeah, the Malach of Esau is sure a Malach of Gevura, as a well-known Esau with the Gevuras of Klippa. However, we have to say that according to Rashi, that the whole thing was a physical struggle. Nonetheless, that was only because since Yaakov was here in this world and he was on a Shoma in a goof, that the Eibishter wanted to try him on a Shoma in a goof, in an open, what you might call contact, and an open struggle, almost in the form of Gashmias, with the Indian of Sarashel Esau, because he was about to meet up with Gashmias with Esau. And so therefore, he had to, as it were, overcome and break the koyach of Esau prior to his meeting with him. And therefore we see the surprisingly enough, even though there's certain tricky and faulty things that happened during that meeting with Esau, which are not so poshut. Over the Puyo, Esau was obliged to kiss Yaakov Avinu, to embrace him and kiss him. So Amos Rashi says that his neck turned into shayish, and he broke his teeth, Esau, that he really wanted to bite him, and he had no choice but to kiss him. With the whole reason Rashi brings out the whole piece of Lepoyo, he actually was bottled in that prat, and Rashi says that Lebesof Oshkeu B'chol Liboy, he actually kissed him with his whole heart. In other words, at that particular moment, he was bottled to Yaakov Avinu. And we see that Yaakov Avinu managed to avoid him and get away from him with the whole inyan, that we see that there was a success and a tzlocha for Yaakov Avinu in that meeting, which was not to be foreseen. And therefore, we have to say that, and so is Mashman, the Rashi's later, when he meets up, Yaakov Avinu uses this whole thing as a way of saying to Esau, oh, you see, I met up with a malach, and hinting that it was his malach, and then all of a sudden Esau says to himself in these little sort of things at the top of his head, Rashi brings it down, that Esau says, oh, he's got to do with angels, maybe with my angel. And therefore Esau was very impressed and scared off by the whole inyan. We can see that there's like a forerunner for the actual meeting in Gashimis with Esau, and a bittul at the clipper of Esau BMS, even though not a bittul homo. Absolutely can't say, because Esau still got away, and to our great pain we've been putting up with him ever since. Even Adayema Azer, even though according to the Rebbe we don't need to put up with him anymore. Unfortunately, if you make yourself put up with him and you put yourself into his lap and you say, listen here, just do what you like with Hasidim, so then you get into trouble with Esau, even though it's the end of the Golan. And we have to say that even according to Rashi, there was a deep spiritual union here, that Sof Kol Sof, it was a preparation for the bittul of Esau in their meeting, and ultimately a bittul of Esau completely. Like Rashi brings over there that he said to him, well, yes, you go your way and I'll catch up with you later. I don't want to forbear any of you guys if you know you did this. But Rashi brings over there that he said to him that don't worry, I'll come to you when Moshiach comes. V'olu Moshiach b'har tzion lishpeit es har Esau. And you say that every day in your davening. I'm a bit scared to try and forbear you as to where you say it. Anyway, you say it every day in davening. V'olu Moshiach b'har tzion lishpeit es har Esau. And so Rashi says that's what he said to him. I'll catch up with you later. That Liosid Lover, I'm going to catch up with you. And Ochem Vei. Therefore, it follows that Rashi also learns that the whole thing was like an eventual working towards the ultimate bittul of Esau, even though it wasn't going to be so simple in the middle. Therefore Yaakov says to him, I'll have to go slowly because I have all my children and everything. It's brought down. Was that he meant to say? I thought I was maybe going to get potter from you at one go, and I see it's going to take a long time and it's going to be a necessity for a lot of work. But ultimately there's going to be the bittul of Esau, take of miyad mamish. Alidei melech HaMashiach, take of miyad mamish. And even from Olu Moishim Bahar Tzion Lishpeit Es Har Esau. So it would follow then that we need to be Choyke V'Deirish just a little bit B'derech Hadrush Yoter, a little bit more B'derech Hadrush. What was actually happening here with this whole struggle? And what's the fact that he called it Pnikel, he called it this name, and it changes into Pnukel. So comes along the Ramban, and particularly the Rabbeinu Bechaye, and they say that this was indication, like everything that happened to the Ovis, Maisa Ovis similar on him, that this was really like the struggle between Yidden and Esau in all the generations to come. And therefore they bring down all sorts of indications of the details. And the Alter Rebbe says in Torah near the end of the parsha, the Alter Rebbe says that this is the Milchama of Esav mit Yaakov b'chol derva, as they bring the Alter Rebbe, and he says particularly the Milchama of Amalek, because Amalek is a plemenik of Esav. He's a nephew of Esav. And so therefore the Alter Rebbe says that this struggle between them is an ongoing thing, and that all the details are to be found in the history of Yidden, and later on in every Yid with his own Yetzer Hara and his own Nefesh HaBamis, which is the Esau Shebekol Echad Ve'echad. That's how the Alter Rebbe discusses it over there. So, says the Ramban that the Ikar of Yaakov Avinu was that he won the Milchama Ruchnias, and therefore he held the Malach down, and he wasn't able to. That's the Ikar of him, as we said before, his Ruchnias. However, in the Chitonias, he got a bit of a victory, or a bit of a sort of partial effect over Yaakov, and he affected him the Chitoniusay, as they write the Ramban, in his outer aspect, Bekaf Yereichoi. In other words, in the leg, which is a chitonius part of the Adam, and it's not the Ikar HaAdam, but it's got certain Ramazim, which ain't kind of Machim Aranz again. It's not the place to go into it here. That it's got certain Ramazim to a weakness, a certain human weakness for Kaita Vazeh. And if he made a certain weakness, or at least in the chitonius of Yaakov Avinu, and it's even brought down in certain greats for him, or that what he touched him on the Kaf HaYerech, or that's indicative of Tisha B'Av. The Tisha B'Av is a remez for the Inyan from Kaf HaYerech, or the whole Arichas HaInyan, and it's put down a Maimon from the Rebbe Rashab, that he says that the Inyan from Tisha B'Av is a Shlita of Esav, and the whole month of the first 9 days of the month of Av are called days of special mourning and special Hagbolas by Yidden, because then is Shoilet Mazali Shal Esav, Rashmoni Nit. But we'll see that maybe in the end we don't have to be so scared even in the 9 days of Mazali Shal Esav. And we hope that this year, being as it is, Shnash Shvamot Shivim, how they call it 770, that there won't be any more Shara Shal Esav, and there won't be any more Tisha B'Av, there'll only be Binyan and Beis HaMikdash HaShlishi, Harbi Lifnei Tisha B'Av, and Adarabah Tisha B'Av, as the Rambam says, will be a great yontif. Now, Mamele, what was the struggle? Was that in Pnimius, Yaakov Avinu overcame him, and that's the type that he bit the dust. However, there was a Nagia B'chitenius, what that led to all the tzores in Gashmius and in Panosa of Odinyanim, which he didn't have had all the measure. The deirs that they've had from the different Golas, and particularly from the Golas, with the Golas Edom, and the Rabbeinu B'chai is also a Marich and an Ariches, and he says that was the struggle, and that was the outcome of that was the outcome of the struggle, and also that the Alois Hashachar is the Geula. And when he saw the Geula coming, he said, "You must let me go, because I'm not going to be able to hold out now." And Yaakov Avinu said, "All right, well, I'll let you go, and you'll go to be swallowed up in the tremendous air of the Alois Hashachar, but I want you to be completely moida, and you have to give me a bracha, so that when the sun will come up, and you'll have to face your being absorbed into the light, you won't have anything left, not b'chitenius and not b'pnimiyah." And that's why he asked him that he must bless him, koydem alois hashachar, in other words, to get out of him the last mitzvahs, you might call, prior to the Etzem Geula. Which means, like the Rebbe said, that prior to the Etzem Geula, Esav will see that he's got everything taken out of him. And if you would only say the truth to him, and you just have enough gumption to act truthfully and say truthfully to Esav, then he's makabel. Of his makabel be'emes lamite. When you sell him a bill of goods, which is heipuch ha'inyan, that's when he makes trouble. And therefore, I had a very fascinating phone call the other day from somebody that a lot of you people know who he is. And he's now working in the United States, and he's working in a certain profession where a lot of goyim come in and everything, and they see him sitting there with his full beard and his Yechi Yamuka. And not just a Yamuka, Yechi Yamuka. I mean, I don't think they know what Yechi is. I'm not sure they're able to read Yechi Adinain, but it's a very, he's got a Yamuka and a beard, and he said that he gets these most amazing results from all these goyim that they they say, who are you and how's it all work, and what is it about, and isn't this wonderful that a man of your status is willing to, work in business and help us, and only positive results. And that's Kedikach that he had the other day, where a man came in and said that he can't pay for the work that he wants to deal with this person, but if his boss would only give him the money, then he would be able to do it. And the boss owes him the money, but he doesn't want to give him the money. So I said, well, you have to go back and talk to your boss. So he gets back, and the boss says to him, where have you been? I said, I went to this person, and I need the help of this person, but and that was all. He didn't say any more. So he said, who is he? So he said, oh, listen, boss, you should realize he's the most wonderful man. He's an Orthodox Jew. And he talks very beautifully, and he's got a beard and a whole thing. Next thing is the boss pulls out his checkbook, and he writes him out a check without him asking any more, without him saying any more. He wrote out exactly the sum of money that he owed him, and that was exactly the sum of money that he needed for this business. And he said to him, what's happened? He said, if I hear that he's an Orthodox Jew, then he said, his word is a word. And he said, you can rely on him, and that's fine. I'm very happy about it. Here you have a check. Now, would that have happened years ago? I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure. I'm a for another follows that Esau wants to hear. It's only the crazy people who are sitting in the big houses, and as they say in Yiddish, the hoiche fensters, in the high windows, they are the ones that are verdrängt the crop. But Esau boy from Kloli is already batil. He's already been drawn out the last minute. Beirach Tony, give me a bracha, Yankov. Esau says, oh, yours. I think he'll let me go. Yeah, let me take my part in the world, and he gives him a bracha, everything. He slept the rest with him in the last minute, and then Shachar. Yeah, Shachar is leading from Gula Shleima. What are we waiting for? I must admit, I don't know. We're waiting. We have to go out and we have to say Yeshia Melech HaMashiach. We have to say Ad Masa. We have to say it nicely to people, and they will be Mekabel. If Goyim can say it, then Alachas Kama V'Kama, B'noi Shal Kal V'Chayma, that Yidden should be able to say. Edify. That's the Ike struggle and the Ike Inyan that Yaakov Avinu was fighting L'chera Im Kula. I'm saying Lefi Kula Ateh. Comes along the Kli Yokor, and it's one on it. The Kli Yokor, he's a Pirush, born in the Mikrois Gedolos. He was around about the time of the Baal Shem Tov, and even though he wasn't openly a Talmud of the Baal Shem Tov or his followers, or the Magid v'chulu, but it seems he was affected by the general Gila, Pnimis HaTorah, Alidei Baal Shem Tov, and everything was at that time. And he writes B'derech, a very fascinating inyan, and he says that the Ike of the war was a Ruchnistic war, and he said, like the Alter Rebbe says, Amalek, he says the Ike, what? The Sarish of Esau. And he calls him by his real name, but according to the Malachim, and he said he tried to persuade Yaakov Avinu that he should put sveikas into his mind and cause him to have sveikas about the Eivishter and about all the promises the Eivishter gave him, and whether or not he's going to be able to fight all these people, and how's he going to get on in the world, and in other words, he tried to weaken his emunah in the Eivishter by way of sveikas al pi seichel. What sort of seichel? Seichel enushi. And what sort of seichel is seichel enushi? Seichel enushi is the seichel of Eilam Goylam. Heard of Eilam Goylam? Well, you meet with it every minute. What do you mean you never heard of it? In other words, it's the Beis Svaras of Eilam Ha. That's it. You heard what a Beis Svara is? In other words, Eilam Hazeh throws you all these ideas. How could I possibly really believe that Mashiach is coming? Really, how could I possibly really say Yechi Adinaynu? What's Meshuggah V'nik? My uncle or somebody of Pliny Ben Pliny, my cousin or my former friend will say that I'm Meshuggah. Who knows what's likely to happen? My grand aunt will complain to the local Chabad rabbi. As a matter, what can I possibly do with myself? As a matter, who says I believe all these inyanim? It's exactly the same Eibishter, and exactly the same Ikarei. However, to believe in Moshe, like to believe in the very existence of Hashem. Because the Rambam says that they're all the same Ikarim. There's 13 of them, and one is number 1 and one is number 12. But they're all the same Ikarim of the Jewish religion, to use an expression. Therefore, this Malach, he tried to work on Yaakov Avinu. He threw him in Sveikah. Maybe not, maybe after yours. Or the Rebbe did say, but maybe even the Rebbe didn't really mean it. Rahmanin and Shlam. Who you see yet? And I got to know a lot of people, they talk about the Rebbe, they don't talk about, it's Mashiach business. And, I saw written in the Sfarim, it's written in thousands of pages of the Rebbe's works, maybe in there. Well, that's what the Sarish Elazar, that's what he was working the whole night at Yaakov Avinu. With Yaakov Avinu, he didn't have any success. And on the contrary, Yaakov Avinu caused him to bite the dust. He safar, that he went down into the dust. And Derech Hagav, the Alter Rebbe points out the difference between Ophir and Ovak. That Ophir at least grows something. If you plant things in Ophir, water it, it'll grow. Ovak is just ordinary dust. How do you call it? Light dust, it gets in your. It's even brought down as a lesson in the Zohar Kodesh. Why don't we see the Beis HaMikdash? According to one Shitta in the Zohar Kodesh, the Beis HaMikdash was never really destroyed. It was all just an Achiza Seinayim. How do you call it? A vision. So the real Beis HaMikdash is really still standing there. And the people say, why don't we see it? So it's written, we've got dust in our eye. We don't see it because we have over. We have over in the eye. And that's what was going on here. This Malach, he was throwing around over. In other words, he was throwing, and it's even written, Vayeh or Veik. That was his whole, he was dusting dust with Yaakov. He was trying to dust, grit and dust into Yaakov Avinu's holy eyes. And he wasn't successful with Yaakov. No, he then, at the Machepagiton, as they say in Yiddish, in the Kafa, Hayerach, in the Gvid HaNosher. And what's the inyan from the brought down that the inyan from the Gvid HaNosher is a certain typhus in the world. And a man says, listen, if I become too frum and I believe in all these inyanim and I really become this, what sort of a life am I going to have? I want to have all the nice things and all the beautiful things and all the good things that I really thought I was going to have and maybe I should have, and it's due to me. Why not? I'm a human being. Okay, this is nature and there's all so good Sachen. And therefore he's worried about what's going to happen to him. And if I come to the yeshiva Tmima and I take it too seriously, then I'll end up being too frum. And if I let my talus cotton really stick out and I really walk around like a real Hasidic Shabbat with the whole thing, then everybody will say, well, maybe even some of the guys around this place around here might say to him, So he says to himself, what do I need it all for? So that was the work of the Malach of Yaakov Avinu. I mean, he didn't say exactly in that loss, but that's what the Kliyokah, that's his point. That was his whole inyan. And I'm going to come to it that the Midas Hadin, the clippers, the one he really wants to get you into real trouble, he mutches you away with all these inyanim, and therefore the Targum Onkelos, he's shtadil, he works harder, he makes this intellectual barrage against you the whole time. And he brings even riots, he'll even bring you riots from Chabad, and he'll bring you Echweis from Vanan, he'll bring you all over, and Mela, he causes the mensch to be at least bechitonius, not in pneumius kamoven, he causes him to be fatarate, and he has to struggle very hard to make sure that his pneumius will affect his chitonius. And that's the inyan of Yaakov, how he is PMS, that the chitonius is the ikka and the chitonius is eino ikka klal. And of her, it was a very unusual and amazing fight. And of her, it seems then that it was a classic struggle, as the Ramban says, and the Rabbeinu B'chaya, there was the beginning of the struggle throughout all the generations with Zarashel, Esau, and with the preparation for the Gula Shleimo. So if he said, ask yourself the question, why did Yaakov Avinu, why did he say, Ro'isi Elohim Ponim El Ponim? What does it do? And why did he say that the name of this place is Peni Keil, which is Chesed? I mean, Lefizeh, he really didn't see this Malach Ponim El Ponim, he just beat him down Ponim El Ponim. He beat him down. And all the Malach could do was cheper him in a Chetzenistic Zach. You know, what's a Ponim El Ponim was there really here? Elim, we said, like the Rechaim HaKodesh says, war is B'klal called Ponim El Ponim. That's not the implication. He said, Re'isi Elohim Ponim El Ponim. I saw Elohim in a pneumistic oifen, and therefore he called the whole place Panemius of Kale. Panei is Russian, Panemius, Kale, Chesed. Therefore, come along, some of the great teachers of Chassidus, and not just the Alter Rebbe and the Talmidei Amagid and all that came out from the whole dynasty of our Rebbeim, but even the Baditchever, the Baditchever, Talmidei Amagid, they learn here a slightly different view of this whole thing, which makes it look that they teach that the word Ro'isi Elokim, it teaches that I saw Elokus. Not Elokim meaning a malam. Not saying that I saw the malam, but I saw Elokus. Ponim, I actually looked the Eibishter in the face, like in Matan Torah. Ponim, Befonim, Diber Hashem Imochem. That's what's written by Matan Torah. And after that, Vatinotzel Nafshi, and my whole nefesh was saying. Despite the fact that I had this whole struggle, my nefesh was saved, but it just follows automatically that since I saw Elokus, Ponim El Ponim, and the father Vatinotzel Nafshi. So the Baditchever teaches, the Rebbe Baditchever, and he says, what's it the Indian? The Ponim al Ponim. Ponim al Ponim is that you mean to serve the Eibishter, because that is the emes, and that is the only thing there is to do. There's nothing else to do anyway except serve the Eibishter. He said, but if you serve the Eibishter because you're looking to get all sorts of things for yourself, and you hope that you get or you think that, well, if I serve the Eibishter, I'm sure he'll look after me, and I'm sure something good will come out of this, and etc. Well, it's certainly not, completely bilti ratzui. It's not the emes way. The emes way to serve the Eibishter is ponim al ponim. You look the Eibishter in the face and you give yourself away entirely only for his will. I wish you would time with me. This is sicher that it'll be good. It can't possibly be otherwise. If I'm doing and I'm connected, and I'm dovuk in the Rebbein Kol HaOlamim, the Alter Rebbe calls him in Tanya Perek Lamed Daled. And Bamel Afisa follows that the Taish the Baditchever Yankov Avinu learned, and he saw from the whole Inyan that he'd been through, and the whole Inyan of fighting this Malach, there was one way that you beat him, and that is you said, listen, I don't have any motives here, I have only Donai. Yes, and you're exchanging these all sorts of mischievous glances with Pliny. And instead of listening, you might give yourself a shokel and straighten yourself out a little bit and really become shaykhid, what the Eibishter and the Rebbe and your parents and everybody really wants of you. The Be'ezah Hashem. It's not Miller comes out of he said that Yankov Avinu had been through, as I'm in Indian, that he'd come to realize that he's going out into Vayishlach, and he knew very well it's going to be a tough run out there with these goyim and with all these people that he was going to have to do with. And Yankov Avinu knew that if he wanted that he should be matzliach al derech haki tov, and he could be matzliach gam beruchaniyas and b'mela begashmiyas, he had to forget about himself altogether. Ponim el ponim. I said, was it a pshat Ro'ish Elokim Rafizeh? Yeah, that I saw Mamish Elokus. I saw Mamish Elokus. So was it a pshat that he saw Elokus? Yeah, Lafi Roivam Afoshim, he saw the Malach. Was it he saw Elokus? So Yankov Avinu knew very well that the Malach of Esau is Gevulah. It's a terrible power, an all-enveloping power that can sweep the whole world. And later on it became the Malchus Remi, Metnochas Olches, that through the generations they've mamish conquered the whole parts of the world almost completely, and at least they've certainly had in mind the whole world. They've certainly intended conquering the ganze Welt. That's a koyach otzum and a koyach mamish mafil, and therefore it's brought down in last week's Seder, it's brought down the Medrash Tanchuma, that when Yankov Avinu saw the Sulam, And it's written that he saw the Sulam at different angles. And he saw it in one Sulam that it had 70 things. And it's written that that was the 70 years of Golas Bavil. And then he saw another one with 180 years, 180 steps, but that's the Indian of Golas Yovam. The other, how do you call it, the Antiochians and the effect of the Greeks. 52, I read how many years they were really giving trouble to the Eden, etc. He saw the number, and then he saw Esau, and he saw Esau come along, and he started going up, and he disappeared, and he couldn't count, he couldn't reach the final count of his steps. In other words, the final Golas, the Golas of Esau, is very mind-boggling, because even Yaakov Avinu couldn't quite see exactly when it's gonna finish. They state that in the Medrash. So Yaakov Avinu said to the Abish, I can't see when it's gonna finish. What is that? So the Abish said, don't worry, I will throw him down in the Haftarah. This week's Parsha, it's written that the Abish says, Misham Oyridcha, that the Abish said, I'll cast him. I will throw him down. In other words, ultimately speaking, it's up to the Abish, like we saw. And so that was a comfort for Yaakov. And Pink to say, there was a famous miser with the Rebbe Rashab, that when they came and told the Rebbe Rashab that the Bolsheviks and all the rest were making so much stories, and the Rebbe said, the truth is, so everybody said, somebody said, they don't have to worry, they're all going to fall anyway soon, it's only a few years and it'll all fall. So the Rebbe Rashab said, no, it's not so poshut. The Rebbe Rashab said, Izenisht in dem rege zer sof. I don't see at this moment the finish. He said, but this is zicher as they hoven sof. That's for sure that they have, but I don't see it at this moment. That's what the Rebbe Rashab said about the Bolsheviks. And Amira, a similar in and happened with Yaakov Avinu. He didn't see the end of Esau. But Nishkizen pinked how it's going to be, and therefore that's the massiveness of the Golas Esau. And it's so massive, that it's so persuasive, that it has no end, that Yidden now have all the possibilities the Abish has given them everything. Akwil, Bakel, Mikwil, that they could just take over the whole world. They could have done it after the 6 Day War, they could have done it after the Yom Kippur War. It's just built Shum Suffolk that could happen, and the American president would have gone along, everybody would have been Batel. No, and they run and chase after, and they say, oh no, only the President of the United States, this one and that one, we're so small, we can't possibly achieve anything. And so we need an army, or what do we need an army for? Only to boot Yidden off there, Eretz Yisrael. That's well known. That's what they're saying now. They don't need the army anymore. The army is an army for driving Yidden out of Eretz Yisrael. That's where it is about, when you don't realize that the only way is to go Yaakov Avinu's way, and to know that there is a sof, and that when you've been told that the sof is there, to take advantage of it and keep Esau with his head in the dust, and he'll be quite willing about it. He'll be quite happy to have his head in the dust if he knows that Yaakov Avinu is taking the initiative, and he's taking we want Moshiach now, that the Golos is finished, and that his part of the running of the show is ended. And he'll be quite willing about it. And that's what we see. And to my great surprise, I met a person on the plane over to Australia last time I went out to Australia, on the last hop. And he said to me, he said, you Jews, he said, you should realize that the world is waiting for you guys to speak. That's what he said. That was his lesson. Yeah. I thought to myself, that's like a Tepsagilim and a Shemaim, the world is waiting for you guys to speak. A guy sitting on a plane, nice dressed well with a tie and everything. And I happened to have a brief conversation with him about something, a technical matter about the seats and so on. And then he said to me, you're Jewish. And I said, yes. He said, where do you live? And I said, oh, he said, you live in Israel. He said, what's wrong with you guys? That's what he said. The world is ready. The world is ready. And Yaakov Avinu's got to take the right attitude. He's already taken the right attitude. And that's the ultimate. What is the secret to it all? The secret is that Ali Day, what Yaakov Avinu took a firm stand and said, oh no, you are not going to be the boss. No, I'm going to be the boss, and you're going to have to ask me permission when you go and when you don't. I'll give you Gesundheit, of only if you agree to all the conditions for Abish to ruling the world, Ali Day Yidden. And I remember the Malach Vayishlach was quite willing, he was quite ready, and everything worked fine. So how does all that happen? So we have to say that was Ali Day, a tremendous Gilui Eloki, that the Eibishter came and he was Mavatal, this unbelievable, massive Koyach of Esau. And he was Mavatal him underneath Yankee. And he was Goyram Ha'oyer Shel Shachar. Well, listen, they both saw the light of the Geula at the end of the whole story. They saw it both. But God, we have to say that was a tremendous Gila of the Eibishter beyond Malachim. Our Malachim are only just a Nira and a bottle Dikanira, a Gabi Emes Elokus. And afar is the Flafi, the Badichua and Oid, and afar we're going to see in a minute, the Alter Rebbe. What happened there is that there was a tremendous Gila Elokus, and that was Mevatil, and that brought a tremendous change in the whole Yachas between the Malach and Yaakov Avinu, and that was a Gilui of Atzma Saint Seif, L'mayla Mikol Ha'inyonim, and that brought about a change and made it possible, and therefore Yaakov Avinu wanted to bring the Geula, but he says, man, can you do it? And he was even hopeful when he met, even to the last minute, he was hoping that Ulai Esav would show some sort of a remez that he was also ready. L'Tzareno, at that particular point, he didn't show that remez. But now he has. That's what the Rebbe said. Therefore, Yaakov Avinu said that I saw Elokim. I saw Mamish Gila Elokus Panim El. I saw Mamish Pnimius Elokus. With Pnimius Elokus Panim El Panim. And therefore he said, "Vatinotzel nafshi," automatically. Not that nonetheless, and despite that my soul will say, but automatically I will say. And what be'ike nafshi? The ike was the neshama of the Jewish people would say. In the Kaf HaYerech, even that, the Eibishter said, okay, you'll have that for a while, but immediately they came to Shemesh. And it's also brought down in the Sopon, the Adam Meforshim, that the Shemesh is also indicatory of the Liyosid Loving. Because Yemotain, Shemesh Umagin, Hashem Eli, Kim is the time, the Shemel Havaya, without the Inif and the Magin, without the Inif and Shemel. Amamel Hashemish Bilvad, what does the Geula, and it healed him from the limping. He never limped anymore. In other words, that's a Dova Chiteni, which can be healed and will be healed, and it's not a Dova which is Moneya, the Indian of the Yiddish and the Neshama taking over the whole, and the Ruchnius of Yidden. But that's their Ike, that they should conquer the whole world mit the mid. And therefore, now we'll understand if we go with that purage, that Be'emes is referring to Elokus, then that's why he called it first of all Pinei Kel with Ayud, and then later he said Panu Kel with Avav. And Siddur explains it, what's the difference with Ayud and Avav? Ayud is a Nakuda. It's a Nakuda with a little sort of a tail which points slightly downwards, and that's how Chochmah is nimshach into Bina. Chochmah begins its Yerida from Atzmias into Bina. And that begins, but that's the beginning of everything. And up there you still have Etzem Ha'inonim K'moshe Haim. And that's called Re'iyah Be'elakus. Re'iyah. Yeah, Be'elakus, because that we haven't explained yet the word Ro'isi, I saw. That we haven't explained it. Up there in that Madrega, it's Re'iyah Selakus. Panu Kel is above. You ever seen above? You start off with a Yud at the top and then you just go straight down to the Shittor, and that's called Avav. That indicates how all the Inonim have to be nimshach into the Sphira Malchus, which is the last Sphira, and that's the Ashpoah out into the world, out into the Elamas, but that's through Malchus. So Yaakov Avinu was mamshik from Pni Kel into Panu Kel. It became, and therefore the word Panu means to turn, literally. It'll all turn from Kel into Amshota down into the Elamas. And so how did all this happen? Now here we see an amazing point that it's well known, that Yud Tes Kislev always comes out around about Pasha Vayishlach. Sometimes it's in Pasha Vayeshev, but it always comes around about the Pasha from Vayishlach. And what is the Pasha from Vayishlach? The meeting of Esav mit, the meeting van Esav mit Yankiv. And remember the same thing, the Alter Rebbe is the Koyach HaYankiv, Amiti is Koyach of Yankiv, and he meets up with the Russian kingdom, but that's the power of Esav, Tahor. That's the emerson power of Esav. And the Alter Rebbe wrestled with them. And he wrestled with them, Vatinotzel Nafshi, and he was saved. And he was saved in his even that even the Chitonis couldn't be affected anymore. It was saved in an oath from pure saving, and the union of Pneumius Atera spread itself all around the world in a way that ordinary people, in inverted commas, all around the world could gradually become informed about Pneumius HaTorah. And so we see that the Alter Rebbe's imprisonment and his clash with Yankiv is the final state of this whole wrestle that occurred way back over there. Over there was still a sort of old glows that still had to come. A still chepenish that he called a chitoniistic touch on the Yerach for Oidinyan. And Yaakov had to limp at least for a time. But after Yittis Kislev it begins. Yafutzo Mayo Noiselcha, Futza, and Ka'osi Mar. That brings the union from Mashiach automatically. If they'll be there for Yafutzo Mayo Noiselcha, so automatically will be the union from Ka'osi Mar, there'll be the union from Yisam Mashiach. And if that's the emissary, the Rebbe Rashab in Eter. We're not very far away from where he says it. The Rebbe Rashab in Eter is Mavaya, that the union from Pnikeo and Penukeo are two madregas in the union from Yankiv Avinu, having been Megala or Maramis to the fact that there's Pnimis HaTorah. And that was also a remiss to the victory of the Alter Rebbe Yittis Kislev. And therefore, Ro'isi Elokim Ponim. What is the purpose of learning Siddur? Why do you come to a yeshiva? What makes you learn Siddur? And it begs you to get up in the morning and to stop all this goofing around and sloughing and all the meiser. To drag yourself out of bed while you're still young. And come and learn the Torah from the Alter Rebbe, from the Rabbein, from which, because on the day that you come to a union from Re'iyah, you begin to see completely differently. And if you look in Perikov Tesh, the Alter Rebbe says that even the Yichud Aki Elyon, that Ein Oid Novadev, Ein Metzias Chutz Mi Elikus, or that you have to see that Beria Chushias Mami. And he said, V'zeh Yesod Kol Ha'aveda Kiyadua. I showed the Alter Rebbe that you have to come to see with physical sight that Ein Oid Novadev. He meant that for himself, for his family. Oh no, it's in a Sefer Shel Vainunim. And it's written in Perikov Tes, and well known in Perikov Tes, a very frum Perik. The Alter Rebbe gets very, sort of sharp over there with the Vainunim, that they're sleeping, they're not doing it, they've got bad thoughts, and as if he's talking to ordinary people that face the Nisoyan of being in Olam Gashim with the Ganzer Lichas. The Alter Rebbe says that this Yesod Kol Aveda is Re'iyah Chushiyah. The Rebbe Rashab says in that mind, how can you come to Re'iyah Chushiyah? Only if you learn Pnimis HaTorah. If you learn Pnimis HaTorah, that opens your eyes. You got to learn Pnimis HaTorah, not to sit in the shir and dremel, or sit in the shir and draw pictures on paper and nachazol. But you got to be in the class and listen to the magic words of all the Rebbeim, including the Rebbe Melech Mashiach, right from the Baal Shem Tov and the Maggid and the Alter Rebbe, all the way down, because that's what it's all about. Gilui Pnimis, Gilui Re'iyah, Mami. And the first is the Rebbe Rashab over there, that's the union from Ro'isi Elokim. The Angevina said, I saw with my eyes, because here there was a Gilui of Atzma saying, well, there's a Pnimis HaTorah. I saw with my eyes, Ponim Ponim. And that's what is brought down, that Yittis Kislev is another Matan Torah. It's Matan Torah of Pnimis HaTorah, and that's the union from Ponim Ponim, Dibur Hashem, Imach, exactly the same lesson which is written by Matan Torah. And that's the Indian what the Alter Rebbe wanted so much for us, and what he brought down into the world for us. And he went and sat in that terrible prison, and he was under a threat of a terrible sentence. And the Alter Rebbe willingly knew, and he willingly went into the terrible sakona. He wanted to cause your futsu he wanted to cause that Indian that a zayish shekoichin, I say, nois and shamno. But that's a lotion in the Mishnah. If you quetch a zayis, then it gives out its oil. But it doesn't give out its oil just down. And therefore the Alter Rebbe went into the Katisha. And it's Mavur in the Torah, and Pasha Bahal Ishcha, the whole mashal of squeezing the zayis. The whole big mashal over there. In the Torah, what a ganze Indian about squeezing is that you also got to squeeze yourself a little bit. You can't just walk around puffing away at your cigarette or something and say, oh, yours, Panimis HaTorah, yours, you got to do something about it, and you got to work. Kol Chadli from Shuri delay, you got to fight that Malach of Esav, you got to beat him, and you got to keep him down in the dust. And Ali Day said, Vayishlach Elokim Ponim El Ponim, and that's you sit in the Shir Chassidus, and you hear Divrei Elokim Chayim Levitikah Elokus, and you see it after a while with your eyes, and you begin to see that that's the one and only way. And so then you call the Mochim Pni Keil. You say this is the Pnimiyas of Elokus, and it's the Pnimiyas of Chesed. There couldn't be a bigger Chesed than that, and a greater gift than that the Eivishter gave us the Indian of Pnimis HaTorah. And the Rebbe told us what is the final upshot of the whole Pnimis HaTorah is to bring Moshiach B'Poyel, and to bring Elokus to the world in such a way that it'll be Rog Bosar, that even the physical body will see, and Mola Ha'oretz Day, that the physical world will be full of the Indian from Es Havaya bottled to the Shem Havaya. Now remember, that's the whole message of Penuel. Penuel is Mivtzoyim. Penuel at a time you got to bring it down into Malchus, and you got to go out into the world, and you got to affect other people. And if you do it with Simcha B'Tuv Levov, and you do it with a Ayod Roma, then people are very happy about it. They're makabel, and they're mischazik alidizeh, and they hope for a better hope, and they see a better world in front of them, and they're happy, and they don't care about all the Meshugin Inyonim which are happening in the high fensters. And on the contrary, that will be the emes of Bittul, and that will be the emes of Sei, of all these terrible Inyonim, and the Indian of Pu'el will bring that the whole world will turn another way. It will turn in the direction of Keil, in the words of Chesed, Rachmim. So that's the message of Vayishlach Kislev. And you got to realize that that is the ultimate Inyan. That Yaakov Avinu is saying, Ro'ishi Elokim, means the Pashta, that he gave the possibility that all of us can see, we can mamish observe things differently. You can look at life differently, you can see things happening in life. You can see how everything is really batil telekuz, until not just Ashgacha Pratis, of Inyonim, Rabbim, and Penimiyim, of V'chulu, the Saint Tzodik Laharich, and all the Inyonim, and all the methods of learning. What happens is that you open your eyes. And what the Rebbe meant by opening our eyes was just to learn Chassidus. But he meant to learn Chassidus with the knowledge that we're holding at the end of the whole thing now. The whole Olu Moshe and Ba'al Tzion could have happened and is happening. Could have happened a long time ago. It's all happening now. And that's the message of the Rebbe. Take your Riyas, Elokim, Ponim al Ponim, and save your Neshama, and save your soul. Mamish Akshav in the even of the Gula Shlema, the saving all the Jewish soul. And sometimes soul means the whole Jewish people. Can't do it. Never. It's referring to all the Jewish people. One mach, one big general sweep. All the Jewish people with Tinot Sel, Nafshi, Yaakov Avinu, the Alter Rebbe brings it to the Geras HaKodesh. Yaakov Avinu was the clothes of all the Neshamas. He was in Yaakov Avinu, it was like Adam Arishan. He was cradling himself all the Neshamas were going to be. And whenever Yaakov Avinu says Tinot Sel, Nafshi, that's what we have to say. And he won't limp anymore. You won't have to limp around and schlep around and drag around and all the rest of it, and a hin and a hair, but you'll be confident, and you'll step firmly, and you'll be full of simcha and confidence and tulevah, and full of bitochen, and you'll have a smile on your face, with a pneumius take a brand that hine Mashiach Yeshnoi, that the Mashiach is already here and he's already here in the world. And Mameli, you give that to other people, and you shrei Yeshia Melachama, Mashiach Begolui, Amen, Kain Yehi Rotze.
Oh, first?
Huh?
Ja, de mensen willen wel